if we have triads and then we add sevenths, depending on the kind of triad you start with and the kind of seventh you add, you'll get different sounds. And there are 5 kinds of chords or combinations of these things that we will focus on now. But if I have a major triad and I add a major seventh to that, okay? For example, C, E, G is my major triad, and B is a half step down, so that's my major 7 distance from here to here. We call that a major 7th chord. The name kind of tells you it's got a major triad and a major 7th, so we call it a major 7th chord. That's why when you play your C chord on your ukulele, and then you bring your 3rd finger back a fret to from here, oops, there to there, we took this C note and we went down 1/2 step, and that's your major 7th there. So C, E, G, and now a B half step below there. And it's got that great sound. Yeah, great. Okay. Now, if we take a major triad, C, E, G, okay, and we go down a minor 7th down, right? That would give us not B, but B flat, okay? And that would give us a different sound. And you've seen this already because you've played your C chord, and then we went, C chord, C major 7th, and then you learned that's C7. That's because we went from C down a whole step right there on that note. So we have C, E, G, B flat, okay? That's a different sound. Here's C major 7, and here's C, what we call C7, okay? Has another name, it's called a dominant 7 chord because it speaks to its function. So we call these dominant 7th chords. Now they have symbols for them. If you're looking at a chord chart or a lead sheet, this you'll see a C and a large M or even an MAJ and a 7 right there. And here you would just see plain old 7 like that. So let's just review this one more time, because if you get this, then these will make sense, okay? You have a triad, major triad. You add a 7th below it, which is the same thing as above. If you go down a half step, that's adding a major 7th right there. Major triad plus a major 7th is called a major 7 chord. Major 7th chord. And you see it by seeing the letter and then a large M or a MAJ, depends on the font and the publisher. And that means play a major triad plus a major 7th, the half step down from the root. If you have a major triad and you add a 7th, but you go down a whole step, which is a minor 7th right there, whole step down, we get another chord called a dominant 7th chord. And the symbol is just the letter and the 7, okay? So C7 is what we call a dominant 7th chord, or a C dominant 7, all right? Now, if we combine other kinds of triads and 7ths, we get other sounds and other names of chords. Let's take this minor triad here. I'm going to go C, E flat, and G. Now, in the world of music, it's possible to add, of course, any 7th to any triad. But except in very, very special situations, we only add a minor 7th to the minor triad. Okay, so that would be a B flat, wouldn't it? Down a whole step, right? And if you have a minor triad plus a 7th that's a minor 7th, you get a really easy to remember name, a minor 7th chord. And it looks as a symbol, you go C, and you put a little m, or an M-I-N, and then a 7. And it has a really great sound. It's a very smooth sound. It's, or, right? It's very nice. Okay? It plays well with others. Okay, so diminished triads. Diminished triads come in 2 flavors as well. So we have a diminished triad. If we add a minor 7th below, okay, then we get something called a half diminished 7th chord. Now, this actually has a bunch of different names, but it's called half diminished because the triad is diminished, but the distance from the root to the 7th is not diminished, it's minor. And you will see that look like this. C, and sometimes you'll see a half dim, and sometimes you'll see a degree sign with a strikeout in it. That's more classical. And sometimes you'll see this, C minor 7, flat 5. Those are all the same thing. If you think about this, this triad here is a C minor triad with a flatted 5th to make it diminished, right? And then, so this would be like a C minor 7, exactly the same, except we flatted the 5th, and that's there. And that's what you'll see on popular sheet music, lead sheets, commercial music that you buy. This is, or this, either one of these might be in a classical analysis or more of a jazz-oriented academic kind of thing. It's called a half diminished 7th chord, a diminished triad plus a minor 7th. Now, if we go one further and we grab that diminished 7th that we've talked about. Okay, so here's my diminished triad. If I go B, that's a half step down, so that's major 7. If I go B flat, that's a whole step down, so that's minor 7. If I go B double flat, we finally found a use for it. Okay, that's actually 3 half steps down. Let's see if I can show you that quickly right here. Okay, C, B, that's 1 half step. B flat, that's 2 half steps, 1, 2. B double flat, 1, 2, 3. Okay, that's a diminished 7th. It's only 9 half steps up from the root, or 3 half steps down. Okay, and so now we have a diminished triad and a diminished 7, right? This is called well, that's called a diminished 7th chord. Sometimes they call it a fully diminished 7th chord because they want to distinguish from the half diminished, because the triad part is diminished and the distance from the root to the 7th is also diminished. And you will see it written in a bunch of ways. Sometimes you'll see it C dim 7, and sometimes you'll see it with the degree sign with not a slash through. Okay? So, and that's it. Of course, it's possible to mix up other recipes, and some of them have interesting sounds, and some of them just aren't very useful. These are the 5 chords that make up most of the music that you're listening to, hearing, and potentially writing. Okay?